started. So thank you everybody for attending today's meeting. I am Darrell Wentz. I'm from the Lehigh Small Business Development Center. A little background on myself: spent 19 years in the banking world. Did everything from management to commercial lending to business banking, and gave my wife a heart attack when I woke up one day and said, I don't want to be a banker anymore. It did not go over well. However, I was lucky enough, I had done a lot of work with the SBA. I was a lender that was doing SBA lending for WT Bank at that time. So I had worked hand in hand with a lot of them on trying to get some of the deals done. So it was a relatively easy transition and probably one of the best I've ever done. And reason being, here you're helping more people than you are pushing product and trying to do something. So personally, I absolutely love it. So today we're going to be going through the first step. So what is the first step? These are the things that you're going to need to understand as a potential business owner. This is where you are hitting the ground and trying to figure out, where do I go from here? Is this feasible? Does it make sense? And then tomorrow we'll be doing a follow-up called the next step. That's where you're going to really start digging into specific.
Hey, Darrell,
Yeah.
do you mind coming kind of over here a little bit? It's having a harder time picking up the audio.
Is it better over here?
They're in the chat. So, yeah, maybe if you can come in this range. Yeah.
All right. So what I'll do is I'll talk in the middle and I'll step aside so you can see the slides. So
There you go. Nice. And I'll just aim that up to you.
So the first step. So what are we going to be talking about today? So we're going to be going over what is Lehigh University, SBDC, what is the business idea, the feasibility of it, what is your plan, and how do you go about opening your business, and then registering your business. So these are really the basics that you're going to need to do up front before you start operation. So a little bit about the SBDC. So we are a partnership with the SBA. We get our funding from the federal government through the SBA, but also through the state. We have 15 offices statewide. And the nice thing about our program, you're not only in the state, you're also going to find us throughout the nation. So we have over 500 offices throughout the U.S. If your business would expand or you would move, you can always find us. And we provide no cost confidential business consulting across prospective or existing businesses. So we work with anybody from, I'm at the ground level, I haven't opened my business, I know nothing about business, companies that are making $10 million revenue at 500 employees. We have quite a good range of what we can help. And that can be anything from startup and management assistance, financing assistance, growth assistance, marketing, and international trade. So the international trade is a great one for our larger companies. That's where we can help them understand, how is their shipping process going to be working? What are they going to be? How are they going to be transporting their product? What are the costs that are going to be incurred? Marketing, we have a great team in Pittsburgh that does full SEO reviews for us. So if you're a company and you have a website, we can actually have your website review for you. They can go and tell you what's working, what's not working. Is it ADA compliant, which is one that I never even stopped to think about when I was back in banking. But you have to make sure that you're doing all the criteria needed. Not only make your business operate better online, but that you're being compliant with ADA. So American Disabilities Act, I should have said that out loud. Growth assistance. That's for our companies that are really beyond the startup phase. They're into now expansion. What are they looking to do? Financing assistance, that could be for anyone in growth or startup phase. There's going to be different ways that lending works, and it's going to be depending on where you at in your life cycle in the business. And startup and management assistance. That's really what we're going to be going over today. So services that we do not provide, and I always like to make sure I tell you this, we are not a professional service, so we cannot help you with your tax filings. We cannot help you with your tax forms. We cannot help you with business regulation forms or filing. We can guide you to where you need to go, but we cannot fill out that paperwork for you. We cannot give legal advice. We are not attorneys. We do not do web development, but we can help you with getting your website reviewed. So you're going to want to have somebody either do that, or there are programs out there where you can do it yourself. But once it's complete, we can have a full review done for you. We do not do payroll services, and we do not do intellectual property filing. So that's if you're looking to develop a product and get a patent, we cannot help you with that. However, we do have an association with Penn State's legal team, their legal school, where you can do work with them. We will put you in contact with them. They can help you with doing your patents or your intellectual properties, and they can help you get that filed. And it's going to be at a relatively cheaper discount than taking an actual attorney down here. What they do is they use the students. The students do all the work to gain experience, and then they hand it over to the attorneys for review before it comes back to you to make sure that's right. So by doing that, they don't have to charge you the money that an attorney would charge $200 an hour to get. So personal considerations for starting your new business. So why are you starting your new business? That's the first one I always like to say. And the answers that I get are crazy. So person wants to start a restaurant. Why do you want to start a restaurant? Well, I like food. That is not a good reason to start a restaurant. You need to have some sort of background that's going to make you be successful in that. Not just, I like food. What is your level of commitment to the business? I hear people all the time say, well, I really want my own business and I don't want to work 40 hours a week anymore. Well, maybe you can. Maybe if you're looking to do it part-time, that might be a good option. The reality of it is, though, most business owners work more than 40 hours a week. It is your life, unless you're doing it as a side little job. But don't go in thinking that you're going to be working less hours if you're looking to be an entrepreneur, unless it's just a little something you want to do on the side. Do you have a solid support network? That network can be everything from, okay, I have an attorney, I have an accountant, I have my insurance agent, I have my banker, I have my consultant. Yeah, that's a good support network. But what's more important is your support network. You have to be able to understand. If you want to do something, but you have a spouse or a family member that's saying you can't do that, and they're constantly bringing you down, that's going to be hard. Especially if you're looking to get them. To give you an example, I had a younger gentleman who wanted to open a business, he had everything in place. His parents kept telling him, "Can't do that. You can't do that. It'll never work." The reason they were telling him that is because they tried opening a business. Their business failed. So in their minds, if they can't do it, they're a child. And you need that support network to make sure that there's people behind you willing to push you. Because you're going to need that push in the beginning. The beginning is the hardest part of any business. Once you get through the hurdles of getting it up and running and hitting that break even, from there, if the process is working, just keep doing it. But it's having a process in place. Are you financially stable? So this is one, I will touch base on this a lot more only because I like the finance side of this. This is always where it's been my forte. Being financially stable. If you're looking to start a company, let's say you need lending. You're going to need to be able to say, I need 100,000 to open my business. Okay, what can you bring to the table? The banks aren't going to just give you $100,000. They're going to want to see what they call equity injection. As a lender, I used to call it skin in the game. They don't want to take on 100% of the risk. So you're going to have some money to put into this deal, not just that. And how much can you invest in your business? That comes back to that equity injection. They're going to want to say, we don't want to give you all the money. We want you to have some money into this deal. And then they're going to also find out how much do you have as collateral. So that could be liquid assets, that could be a house, that could be equipment that you've already bought for the business to get it up and running. These are the things that you're going to want to understand. Pros and cons of owning a business. Now, this is always a good one. You will have total administrative and creative control of your business. It is your business. You can do with it what you want. But you will also have all the responsibility and the very long hours of work ahead of you. That is the downfall of being a business owner. If there's something that needs to be done, it falls back on you. You might have staff to do it, but it's going to fall back on you. There is no limit of your income potential. You get to keep all the profits. Very good. You get to keep the money. However, there's also no limit to your possible loss. You're taking on all the risks. Now, you might get a bank loan and say, well, the bank's covering 80% of the business startup. You're still responsible for that money though. And there's gonna be a personal guarantee and a business guarantee against your company for that money. If the company would fail, the lenders will have to come after you for that money one way or another. Usually they will do what's called workout. That's where they'll get together with you, try and figure out a payment. The last thing they want to do is take collateral from anybody. They're gonna lose money on that deal every time. So if they take the property, now they have to pay the taxes. They have to pay the maintenance on that property. They have to pay the real.
They're having a harder time. It's
I'm
easier when,
sorry.
no, you're good. They said it's a little easier when you're here. Sorry, I was testing the speaker and it went woo.
So, you're gonna be basically taking on almost all the risk. You will feel incredible pride with the ownership of your business. But you're always gonna be the face of your business when you are in the community. So this is one, think of it this way. I know a lot of business owners, they work hard, they're the face of their business. When they're ready to take a vacation, they leave the area, they go somewhere else. And they don't want people to see them let loose and see what they're gonna do when they finally get a break from their work. So if you're gonna be that person in the Lehigh Valley, you have to remember, your customer base is here. They're gonna see that side, you want them to see that. So when you're out in your community, when you're out in where your customer base is, your face is your company. You don't wanna tarnish that. If you're gonna go away and let loose, go far away. Don't do it where your customers are. Okay, so what do we do to plan for success? 75% of all small businesses fail in the first year. And primarily it's due to lack of due diligence or the business planning stage or undercapitalization. That is the one that I like to stress, and that's the one that I see the most. Think of it this way, you need $100,000 to open the doors on your business. That's great. You say, I need the loan for 100,000. What you're not thinking about is, what's your break even? When are you going to start making enough money to where you pay all the bills? Might be 5 months out, it might be 6 months out. You're also going to need 100,000 then plus 6 months of working capital to get you to that break even point. So if you can't make money until month 6, your landlord's not going to say, don't worry about it. You're going to have bills to pay until you hit that break even. So you want to make sure that in your projections, you're looking at startup costs, working capital, until you get to that point where you're making money. Starting a business can be very challenging and expensive, should not be taken lightly. Mistakes made during the startup process can have a long-term effect on your business. I can't stress that enough. You really need to understand your business, everything about it. Who's your customer base? Where do you find them? How are you going to attract them? Who's your competition? These are all things that we're going to go through, but that one is very big. You need to understand your business. So steps to starting a new business. So first we're going to be covering the business idea. Then we're going to be covering business feasibility, business development, and then opening your business when you finally get through the stage. All right, so first let's talk about the business. So business idea considerations. Does your idea solve a problem for your community? And what I'm probably going to do today is give you an example that I had from a previous coworker. He used to always use this one when he did presentation. So let's just say we're doing a pizza shop up near Topton, for those of you that know where Topton is, up near Northwestern High School, so a little farther north. Does your idea leverage your existing skill set? Do you have experience in your chosen industry? Are you selling a product or a service? And that's something a lot of people don't think about. It's a tangible product, or I'm an accountant, I'm an attorney, somewhere where you're providing a service to people. And can you make a profit? That is the number one thing we're going to have to consider. There's no point in, if you're doing something, you're not making money on it, it's a hobby. It is not a job, it is not a business. So you have to make sure you can make money. Okay, so let's talk about business feasibility. Does the idea make sense? So things that you want to consider with this, how does your product or service bring value to your customers? How big is your market? Are there enough people willing to buy? Who is your competition in the marketplace? Is the industry a thriving industry? Will current social, political, or economic climate impact your business? And does the global economy affect your business? So let's talk through these as a pizza shop owner. Okay. Does your product bring service or values to your customers? Yeah. If you have enough customer base, absolutely. So if you're up in Topton, maybe there's only 1 or 2 pizza shops up there. As long as there's enough customers who support it, I mean, you're out in the country, so you might not have enough customers. So you have to start looking at your demographic. But you're definitely going to bring value to them. Everyone always likes to buy pizza. And I've yet to find a pizza shop that doesn't make money. They all do. They just don't report it. How big is your market? So that's where now we're talking about location. Where are you at? Are there enough customers there to support it? And there's a little more to that we'll cover a little later. Who is your competition in the marketplace? It's going to be a lot different in Topton than it's going to be in, say, Emmaus or Allen. I grew up in Emmaus. I can tell you when I grew up, there were 7 pizza shops in Emmaus. All of them made money because there was enough customer base there to support it. You put 7 of those up in Topton, some of them aren't going to make it. There's not enough customer base. You have to know that you have enough to support your business. And whether that's, okay, I'm going to take 5% of the customer base, maybe 5% of that customer base from the market coming to you will be enough to support it. We won't know until we do projection, but you have to have an idea of what those numbers are. How many people are there? What's the potential revenue? Do they have a lot of disposable income? So these are the things you're going to want to consider when you're trying to figure out who are my customers. The thriving business, I can tell you there's been some that I've seen that were doing this to dropping off. And now there's one that did that, came down. It was a dying industry and now it's come back. And it's one of the best ones I've seen in the area lately. Bowling alleys. Bowling alleys were huge when I was growing up. All the kids went there, parents would go out there. About 15 years ago when I was in banking, I wouldn't touch a bowling alley for lending. Didn't make financial sense. They were all losing money. Then what happened? COVID. Yeah, bowling alleys that could let these people in because they could say, we're going to use this lane, we're going to leave this lane open. This lane, leave this. And they were able to create space in between people, and it gave people an opportunity to get out and do something rather than sitting in their house. The market has stayed up ever since for them. They're back to doing great business. So understanding your market that you're in, the industry, and how it can be affected. And that'll come down to current social, political, economic climate. Feeds right into that. Politically, right now, we're in a little bit of a challenge. We don't know cost of goods, what's going to happen. Is it going to go higher? Are we going to be able to get product? I mean, everyone remembers COVID. We had boats stuck off of California's coast for 6 months. What did that do here? We all had shortages. We had prices that went through the roof. It's toilet paper. Toilet paper. That was the biggest one. My wife, God bless her, every day she'd be at Costco hunting for it. I was like, I don't have time for that. I couldn't do that. The line drove me crazy. And global economy. So right now we're seeing a lot of that with the global economy, the tariffs. We really don't know what effect it's going to have yet. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? I don't know. It's still early in the phase. I'm fairly confident it'll all balance out because we can't survive without them. They can't survive without us. That's the truth. We all need to work together. There's going to be something that comes out of it. What it'll be, I don't know. My crystal ball doesn't work that well yet. So let's talk about business development. So you've now determined that your idea could be feasible. You have enough customer base. You know how to touch them. You know how to find them. Now what do you do? Okay, so we're going to start out with what's called the business model canvas. So real quick, it's a strategic management tool to quickly and easily define and communicate a business idea or concept. So it's going to be a little bit more of throwing everything up against the wall and putting it in place to see where it's going to fit. Then that takes the place of a traditional business plan. The traditional business plan is going to be
on average, and it depends from business to business, anywhere from 8 to 12 pages of concise written information on how your business daily operates. What's your plan? Who are your customer base? How are you getting your funding to start the business? That's what you're going to need when you're ready to go start talking to a lender. Or what I even like to say, have your business plan ready. That is a living, breathing document for your company. Everyone should have a business plan. I know some people say, I don't need it. I have everything I need. I'm just going to open. How do you measure success as a new company? You have to understand what you need to do as a company. So you write your business plan, you have 5 set things in there, or this is what I'm going to do on my daily operations. What happens if you're not making money? Okay, what are you going to change? Well, if you don't have a written business plan to know, or your team doesn't know, how do you fix it? You should be getting that business plan out every month, looking at your results, looking at your business plan. If you're not hitting the results, not changing it is the definition of insanity. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect change. You have to make change. So you're going to look at that business plan. You're going to say, this is working, this is working. Oh, this is not. Either fix it or pull it out of your business plan. Don't waste your time doing something that isn't working for you. What that does is it now frees up time to either A, put it back into the items that are working, or maybe find a new idea that you can slide into that time. But you're going to be freeing up your time to do what actually works, not spinning your wheels, expecting something to change that's not going to change on its own.
Yeah.
There we go. Business plan outline. So this is the basics of what you should see on a business plan. They can be longer, they can be shorter. I had one person give me a 72-page business plan the other day. It looked great. I'll say that, it looked great, but it would not work for what he was looking to do. He needed lending. So let me tell you a little bit about lending, being a former banker. I look at the business plan, I look at the projections, I go, this looks awesome. I approve it on my end. That means nothing. Now it needs to go off to the corporate office and go through underwriting. Underwriting, think of little bean counters. All they're worried about is money. You give them a 77-page document, you're going to lose them by page 5. They don't have the time or the patience to sit there and read 77 pages. They're worried about the numbers. They want to make sure, does it make financial sense? Does the person have the experience in the industry to be successful, or have the management team in place to be successful? Do they understand who their customer base is? They're going to want to know these items right here. What's the purpose? What's your marketing plan? Who is your competition? How are they your competition? What do you do different than them? What's the management team look like? So I may say, I want to open a restaurant. I have no restaurant experience. It still can work, but you need to have someone that has experience in that industry. So maybe you hire a general manager. What is the legal status of the company? Is it going to be an LLC? Are you in good standing? You have no credit issues? And what are your financial projections? That is going to be the most important piece. This tells the story, and this shows how the story results turn out. So it's 2 separate things. I have everybody typically start with the top, the business plan, the marketing, the competition, the management team, the legal status, some other items I sometimes put in there, but that's the basics. That should tell the story of your numbers. That's what's going to make you understand how your revenue stream works. And does it make financial sense? You might get through all this, you do your projections, and you're not making money. Something's got to change. You can't turn that over to the bank. You're not making money in your projections. It makes no sense to the lender to go any further at that point. So the purpose of your business plan. So it's going to explain what product or service are you selling? What is unique about your business? So you can have 10 restaurants. What's unique about your restaurant? Okay, I'm bringing a new Thai food to the market that no one's ever had. Okay. You got something new. That's great. Is there a market for it? Do you have enough people that are going to want to buy it? What are your company's strengths and weaknesses? And what is the nature of the industry? That's always very important. And it goes back to what I was talking about with bowling alleys. There's certain industries that are going to be good in economic times, there's certain industries that are gonna be bad in economic. You don't wanna go into an industry when it's on its downturn. Like, let's say I wanna become a VCR repairman. Okay, half of you probably don't know what that term was. I'm giving away my age on that one, but you have to understand where you're at in your life cycle of the company you're looking to go into.
I'm 50 today. I know exactly.
All right, you're right there with
For your birthday?
Yes.
Happy birthday. So marketing. So marketing refers to the activities a company undertakes to promote the buying or selling of a product or service. Marketing includes advertising, selling, delivering products to consumers or other businesses. So let's see. What would you think would be good marketing tools? What would you use to try and push your business model that you're looking to do?
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth, okay, great.
Is obviously the internet.
Internet, and that goes hand in hand. Reviews, always, reviews are one of the top producing sales items right now. When I was younger, it was all word of mouth, but now the younger generations coming up, they look at reviews on everything before they buy. They're not gonna be buying just because of low price anymore. When I was one of the generations, I was very cheap. Everything I looked for the cheapest price I could find when I bought. People don't do that now. Now they're looking at reviews. They want to see quality. They're willing to pay a little more. So understanding your customers there. What else? Any good ideas?
Develop an app.
Very good. I love apps. Apps with backlinks going to your website. Very good.
You could advertise at similar businesses.
Absolutely. Who has the same like customer base? And it might not be that they're in the same business.
Diners, restaurants.
Can go on their placemats at the diners, but yeah, understanding who are your business partners. They may not just be you. You might have a company where you sell horseshoes. Okay, well, if you're selling horseshoes, maybe you want to find people that sell saddles. Maybe you want to find people that sell the outfits for people that do professional riding. Finding out who can you partner up with to be successful. It's not just all about you. You can get referral business from other people if you know them and they have belief in you also. So a marketing plan, what's a marketing plan going to look like? Very similar to a business plan. I think I would incorporate this into my business plan. That's what I would recommend doing. Some people like writing this first and then putting it in. I think just gathering thoughts, putting them onto a piece of paper, and then you can add it to your business plan, but either way works. So it's a roadmap that will help you determine what success looks like. It includes who are your customers? Why are they your customers? What do they look like demographically? Are they going to be people from outside of the city? Are they going to be from inside the city? What motivates them to buy and what motivates them to buy from you? How will they receive your information and how will they get to your place of business? So some people, they're worried about footprint. Where am I at? Other people, they don't care about footprint. They're a home-based business and they're selling everything online. Or they're producing their product at home and taking it to markets or fairs. So that's going to help you find out who's your customer base. If you're selling online, your customer base could be anywhere. In this day and age, you could be selling overseas. The sky's the limit. But with that comes a lot more work. How are you collecting your payments? How are you paying your sales tax? Because if you're selling in New Jersey and you're selling in Pennsylvania, you're going to have two sales taxes that you have to do every year. You're going to have to pay sales tax at 6% to Pennsylvania for everything that you sell if you're charging tax. You're also going to have to pay New Jersey sales tax on everything that you sold in New Jersey.
Plan about business is sensitive to these variations. In other words, a stable type thing that everybody's got to have it no matter what. So-
Unless you're looking for a quick in and out, make your
Right.
money and jump out.
Right.
Yep,
But if you're
absolutely.
looking for something that they're gonna have.
Yep. Returning customer base, and that can depend on also what type of product it is. Is it something that goes out of date quick? Technology. They live off of that. It's the return customer base. Oh, I got a new iPhone. Next year, the new iPhone comes out. I need another new iPhone. I can't do that. I have tons of friends that do that every year.
And what's cool about the new virtual technology, startup like a seasonal business on a cloud run it for a while, rent the space, and then just bail. And
Yep.
have always systems that will automatically set it up. So
Absolutely.
you can run a business virtually for several months around Christmas and then turn it off.
Even just doing mobile business. I know guys that do landscaping and lawn mowing up here all summer, spring, summer, fall. They load all their stuff into a truck and they drive to Florida and do it in Florida all winter. And that's their vacation time. They go down there to get away from the cold. Some guys will stay here and plow snow. These guys, they go, I'm not doing snow. They load up and they go south and they keep mowing lawns, and it's less equipment they have to buy. So it's understanding how hard do you want to work? Do you want to work hard, smart, maybe both? What do you like mowing lawns but hate snow? Okay, perfect. There's your answer. I want to go south, or make enough money in those 9 months where you can just take 3 months off. Ideally, that would be the perfect world. Doesn't always work that way, but that would be the perfect world. So who are your competition? And this one makes me laugh when I hear people, no one's going to be my competition. I'm doing the one and only thing that's ever been seen. No one does anything like it. You're always going to have competition. You're going to have what's called direct competition or indirect competition. So direct competition, all the restaurants, you have them everywhere. They're competition for each other. Indirect competition would be someone where maybe they're not in the same field as you or the same industry as you, but you have to find out where are your customers going to spend their money. They're always going to have what's called disposable income. So I might have $100 in my pocket. Do I want to go to a restaurant? Maybe I want to go to a Phillies game. Maybe I want to go to an Iron Kings game. Maybe I want to take the family out and go bowling. There's always going to be indirect competition. So if it's something that's a necessity, okay, there's not going to be as much disposable income needed there. You're looking at a specific item that is needed day to day. But if you're doing something that is a luxury, something that maybe I don't have to do this week, maybe I don't have to do next month, now you're talking about disposable income. That's where your customer base is going to be. Where can they go spend their money? So if you have, say, we'll start with Crayola. You have Crayola Factory. Everyone says, I want to take my kids to Crayola. Well, now you have Da Vinci Center. Now you have art museums. They're the auto museum over in Allentown. There's different places where they can spend their money. Maybe it's not direct competition, but it's someone that can take your money from you. You're going to want to understand, how can I keep that customer base coming back to me and not going somewhere else to spend their money? Usually that's going to be pricing and experience. More important than experience. If I have a good experience, I'm going to be more likely to spend my money there. Management team. So what do you bring to the party? And this is more, in my eyes, not only for the lenders, but for you, for your work. It's going to make your life a lot easier, understanding that you have everything covered that you need for your company. So do you have experience in the industry? I know we talked about that. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you don't, you need to find someone that does, because they're going to be the brains of the operation. You're going to be the financial backing. You might be the HR person, but you're not going to know the industry. You're not going to be successful. You have to know your industry that you're going into, or have someone that on your team that does. Do you have previous management experience? So maybe you've had experience in the industry, but not on the management team. Okay, who's going to handle your HR? Because that, in this day and age, is a huge nightmare. I can tell you, as a former manager at a bank, I hated the HR side. It changes every year, at constant change. Maybe you don't like managing people. I used to love it. You couldn't pay me to go back to it now. I dread it, and that's not something I would enjoy anymore. Do you have any finance or cash handling experience? Big one if you're going to be doing something on the retail side. You might not have cash handling experience. Okay, who's going to run your registers? Who's going to be making your deposits? Who's going to be doing your QuickBooks for you to manage your money? Are you currently working with a lawyer, accountant, banker, insurance agent, or a consultant to assist you with the business? Those are the things that should be a no-brainer for any startup. Those people should be on speed dial for you. You might not need them, but you should have one lined up from each of those industries for you, for your business. You don't want to go to the lawyer any more than you have to. Let's face it, they're going to charge you $200 an hour to do work. So anything that you can do on your own, great. But if you're talking about you're doing lawn care and you have legal contracts. You're looking at doing, I want to buy real estate and become a landlord. You're going to need leases that you're going to have in place. You want to make sure that you have all those written to PA law. Every state is going to have different laws for different products. So these people should be on speed dial. You don't need them, great. If you do need them, you don't want to be hunting them down or trying to find somebody. I can tell you firsthand, I've seen people not have an attorney that they know. All of a sudden they're calling me. I have a huge issue. I have a client that's trying to sue me. Now, who should I call? You should call your attorney. I don't have an attorney. Who would you recommend? Well, good luck finding an attorney on that short of a notice. And that's going to be a little challenging. If you know someone, great. Then you know who you can call. So if not you, then who? That's always the one that I like to talk about the most. There's always product and work that needs to be done for your business. If you're not doing it, who's doing it? How much staff do you need? How much does that cost you in your projections? Those are the thoughts that you need to, everything that you do should lead to a dollar sign, whether it's bringing money in or sending money out. So who's helping you with your marketing? Yeah, you're paying that marketing, but it should bring sales in. So you're going to have an offset. If you're just paying somebody and you're not getting results, that's a waste of your money. Make sure that you have that offset for any expenses that you're incurring. And who are the other key managers in your business? Maybe you don't need a lot of key managers if you're just going to be a small business. Maybe you're doing landscaping. Okay, you're the only manager. But what about as your business grows? Maybe you need to get a second truck. So now you're going to have 2 trucks going out. You're going out on one, who's running the other truck. Okay, you're going to have one team leader on that truck. So yeah, you might want to make that person a manager, give them a little more of a bump in their salary so they can see the value of what they're doing. Yeah. Legal status, business structure. So there's lots of different structure types, and you're going to see some on here. Sole proprietor, the easiest to do. And limited liability company, about 75% of the businesses that are formed in Pennsylvania right now are LLCs. And the reason you gain some of the benefits of the corporations, however, you're not going to be held to the same standards as far as reporting. Corporations, you're going to be under a microscope when it comes to tax season. I mean, all of them you have to report correctly, but there you're going to have your annual meetings, your minutes. You're going to have to do your quarterly reporting. LLC, all that without the headache. You get all the same advantages. The thing I love about LLC, just like the corporations, it protects you. That is the number one thing I always tell everybody. Think of it as your insurance policy for yourself, for your company. And I'll give you a quick example. So let's start with, I'm mowing a lawn and I'm just helping my neighbor out. Every time I see his grass is high, I go out, I mow his lawn. He's elderly, he can't do it. I'm a nonprofit organization. That's the best way to describe it. The minute he gives me money for gas, for my service, anything, you are now a sole proprietor. In theory, you should be reporting that. Most people don't, but in theory, you should be. Now you're mowing the lawn, his cat runs out in front of you. Poof. You hit him with the lawnmower. Hair everywhere, big mess. He has to take him to the groomer, has to get him fixed, get some stitches, whatever. He comes after you and says, you need to pay this bill. Well, you're a sole proprietor. You're responsible for paying all those bills. Now you go and form an LLC. You have a lawn tractor and a gas tank and maybe a weed whacker. You hit that same cat, he can come after the lawnmower and he can come after the weed whacker. He cannot come after you personally because you're protected through the LLC. You can only go after the business entity and any products that are owned by the business. What's he going to do? Take your lawnmower? Maybe the $100 that you have in the savings account for the money you make takes away all your risk. I personally love the LLCs, and it costs you $125 to open them. So I like LLCs, as you can tell. So Legal status, additional considerations. What are your intellectual property responsibilities or considerations? And is your industry have additional regulations and licensing? So let's talk about first intellectual property. So you want to get a patent on something. You're creating something. You're developing something new. You have something that's never been put in the market. You're going to want to protect yourself. You're going to want to get a patent on that, maybe. Patents have to be written up by an attorney. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, because there are so many legalities to these to protect your rights where no one else can come in and take it. However, we're seeing a little more of a challenge in the industry right now with that. And the challenge is AI. People are using AI to develop a lot of their new ideas. Now you go and you file for a patent from a patent attorney. It goes to the US government. They look at the Patent and Trademark Office. They actually look at this stuff and they will put it through a program to find out, just like the colleges, how much was actually AI written and how much was actually developed by you. If it was more developed by AI than you will not get a patent on it. They want to know that this product was your thought, your idea, and you came up with it.
So plagiarizing to some degree.
To some degree, yeah. But they don't want to reward people for letting a computer come up with an idea for them. So it's still a gray area. They're working a lot of that out right now. But I know colleges firsthand. Almost all your professors use this now for colleges. Someone has to write a paper. They'll take that paper, put it right through AI, through a program, and it'll tell them how much of this was written by the person and how much they steal information, plagiarize, and put it into their school report. They see anything in there.
I always like to pop it out there just because I'm a workforce skills instructor. They do that with resumes too.
They do now.
So when you submit a resume, it goes through an applicant tracking system and it scans if it was original or if it was created through AI.
Doesn't mean you can't use AI. You still need to feed all the information to it.
Mm-hmm.
But don't rely on that to do all your writing for you. It will send up red flags. And does your industry have any additional regulations or licensing? So that can vary from company to company. You want to be a doctor, okay, you need to have a lot of licensing. You want to open a restaurant, yeah, you're going to need licensing. You're going to need ServSafe. You're going to need to have the inspectors coming through. You're going to have to work with the township, the zoning. There's always going to be people that you need to make sure that you have the green light from before you open your doors. The last thing you want to do is open your doors, not do all of your homework. The city or the township or the state comes in, it shuts you down and says, cease and desist letter, you cannot reopen until all this stuff is fixed. Now your doors are open in theory, but you can't sell anything, you have no revenue stream. How long can you last till you have to say, I'm done, I can't make it anymore?
It's probably a random question in a sidebar, but is that institution also using AI to pretty much scrutinize AI?
The patent and trademark?
Yeah.
I did not get a clear answer from that. I was actually in Atlanta at a meeting, and they were talking about this to the entire group. They would not tell us whether they were doing it or not, but they were just sort of implying, we want to make sure that these thoughts are coming from the inventor, not from a computer. So they wouldn't tell us, but if you read between the lines, I would bet they are.
I think I'm safe. I just want a clean card.
Okay.
What you're saying is it's
That's what, yeah, it's not really plagiarism, but it's not your thoughts. And that's, if you're applying for a patent, those are supposed to be your thoughts because you're applying for it. If you're letting a computer develop the thought and then you just say, I did this. Then
the precursor in schools where teachers would see a paper, run it against something on the internet and see if it matched anybody else's work. Before the AI got real big, they were starting to do this.
Right.
And now it's got a front end to it. But it's like programs are battling each other.
they are.
Yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
absolute AI program.
Yeah.
Well, what if you wrote the AI program then are you allowed to?
Well,
If you wrote the AI.
so here's my thought process. AI is learning every day, correct?
Yeah.
We all know that AI is learning every day. Who doesn't think someone's gonna eventually go, write me a business plan or give me a story on this that's never been written before? Because AI learns everything from what's been fed to it. So if you're telling it to use something that's never been fed to it, How's that gonna work out? I don't know. I'm not a guru on it, but I'd be willing to bet at some point it's gonna learn enough to say, I need to change. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see where it goes. AI is great, but
Yeah.
we'll see where it goes.
A
I
work
always
in
think,
progress.
and I'm dating myself again, I always think of war games,
Yeah,
where the computer takes over the nuclear weapon.
yes, Matthew Broderick.
Absolutely. Yeah. So financial projections. So a typical business plan is going to include 36 months of revenue and expense projections. That can vary a little bit as to how you want to write it. Some people like saying, typically your first year, you want to have it broken down month by month. So 12 months breakdown. If you're looking to get lending, it's going to be required to be that way. You have to show every month. Year 2 and year 3, SBA will now accept quarterly projections. I personally don't like quarterly projections. That's me. And the reason I say that, we have a lot of businesses that are seasonal. I want my customers to know, where are your down points? What are your high points? How do you get through those? If you have quarterly projections, you're not going to be able to see as well where you might have shortfalls. And you don't want to run out of money. That's the last thing you want to do. So
Is there a number where the bank would inquire in terms of why you're getting a quote unquote, let's just say personal loan or something of that nature? Because you can go to a bank and just say, I need a personal loan and apply that to your business, right?
you could.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Some people do that. Some people use home equity loans. They'll just go get a home equity loan, use that. Now, when you do that, you're losing the ability of a tax write-off for your company though. So all the interest that you're paying, that's going to be on your personal tax returns. You're not gaining anything from the company for that. So, and you're also not building credit for your company.
Okay.
That goes a long way. As a business, you want to make sure you have a good working relationship with your bank, because if you grow and you need money and you don't have any history with them, why would they want to do business with you? You don't have good credit score on your business. You might be making a lot of money, but you still have a low credit score for your company because you've never utilized credit under the company. You've always done it under you. Now they'll do a global cash flow where they're going to take your credit and their credit, your cash flow and the company's cash flow, and they'll do a full consideration that way. Best way to describe that with global cash flows, for every dollar going out, the bank is going to want to see $1.25 coming in, whether that's just on the business or whether combined between business and personal. That's where it's global. So if your company isn't doing great, but you're making good money, your cash flow looks good. A lot of times they'll do that, but they're always going to take a personal guarantee against you, a business assets for everything the company owns. And if there's any other partners, that's something to remember. If you have any partners in your company that own 10% or higher of the business, they're going to be personal guarantors on any business loan. The bank is going to want all of them to sign off on the liability of that company.
Okay. Just, I guess, another way of wording this is, what's typical? Is there a typical max that people can borrow as a quote unquote personal loan?
Really, whatever they can support the debt for. And that's what I like to say that as a former banker. I used to tell everybody, don't worry about anything. What can you afford? And that's how I would look at it. Just like a mortgage. When you get pre-approved for a mortgage, it's not off of the house you want. It's off what can you afford to buy.
Right. And
So that's how they'll look at it. They'll look at your cash flow, say, how much disposable income do you have? Can you buy this house? And they'll say, okay, you're selling that house, so we can add that back into your disposable income also because you're selling that. And they'll figure out what you can afford on a monthly payment. And they'll do the same thing on a business. They look at the cash flow. So the information that's going to be critical to the company. But again, 36 months, you're going to need 36 months worth of projections. Month to month, my preference, but some people, they like to do the first year, month to month, year 2, year 3, quarterly. It'll still work, but depending on your industry, I like the month to month. I mean, we go back to the lawn care business. He's going to do it 9 months out of the year, and then the fourth quarter, he's not doing anything. Okay, well, I need to know that he's going to make enough in those 9 months to get him through. He still might have loan payments. He still might have his insurance payments he needs to make. He still might have to pay for his website. So does he have enough money that he makes in those 9 months to get him through 3 months of collecting zero revenue? And then in the next year, it starts up again, he starts building up his money again. But how much is he cutting himself down? Does he have any extra capital? What happens if he gets through winter, he's used up all of his reserves? Spring comes around, he doesn't have any income yet because he's just starting. The equipment needs to be serviced, the equipment needs to be sharpened. He doesn't have the money to do it. You better have a mechanic in-house. So, ways to think about your money. Also, it's important that the information be honest, realistic, and informed. So that's where I like to say, don't be an overachiever in your projections. I cannot stress that enough. You go into a bank and you say, I need a loan for $100,000. They give you the loan and they look at or they're going to give you the loan. They look at your projections. They say year one, you're going to make 100,000. Year two, you're going to make 200,000. Year three, you're going to make 300,000. So you're talking 100% year over year growth. That's great. If you can pull it off, awesome. The banks don't care about that. They don't care what your growth is. They want to know one thing. Can you support the bank? That's all they're worried about. Think of a bank as an insurance company. Everything is risk-based. They're going to say, okay, you're going to grow this over this. Okay, whatever. How much revenue are you making? How much profit are you making? That's all they're worried about. With that profit, can you afford to pay the payment? Okay, great. We'll do the loan for you. This is where it gets tricky. People say they are going to do a big growth. I'm going to grow 50% year over year. And then next year, 75% year over year. Bank doesn't care until the next year when you come back. So the next year you come back and yeah, you didn't grow 50%, you grew 30%. Still a great year. 30% growth is a good year. But the bank is going to look at you when you say, I need more money because the business grew and I need to buy more equipment. You made money, but you didn't hit the goals that you told us you were going to hit. What happened? Was there an issue with your management? Were your projections off? You're sending up a red flag that you shouldn't have to be sending up. Just worry about making your money. If you blow it out of the water, you look like a superstar to the bank. They won't care. But if you set a goal and you don't hit it, now you set up a red flag that you didn't need to set up. Be conservative with your projections. That's the best advice I can give you on that. Questions you will need to be able to answer when it comes to your financial projections. How much money do you need to set up and start and sustain your business? How much can you invest into your business? The skin in the game. We talked about that a little earlier. How is your credit score? That one will kill a deal like that, especially if you're working through traditional lending through a bank. 650 or higher is where you're going to need to be for an SBA loan. SBA will not go below 650. Rare occasions, maybe. I would not plan on it. I've yet to see a deal go through under 650.
I mean, I know there's some changes with credit score with this administration.
A little bit.
But I don't know, is that also applicable to businesses as well?
Yes. Yep. Especially with businesses. Yeah. When you're dealing with SBA deals with the businesses. For years, it's been 650 since I've been doing it. They're talking about opening it up a little bit, but they don't have to. And I wouldn't expect them to, because even though the SBA might say 650, but you have to remember with SBA, they're not giving you the money. The bank is giving you the money. The SBA gives them what they call financial backing on it. So let's say, we'll make it round numbers. You're getting a loan for $100,000 and it's an SBA loan. So you go to the bank says, we can give you the money. It's going to be an SBA loan, $100,000. You got the $100,000 for your company. If your company fails, the bank is only on the hook for $50,000. The SBA backs half that loan with insurance. The bank is still giving you $100,000. But if you fail, they're only losing $50,000 because the government's insurance will cover that difference for the bank. So, see your hand go up.
Have they normalized the credit scoring to a standard scale that did FICO and that? And there's different kinds of credit scores based on what you are. Real estate's different from credit cards.
Yep.
What are they using for small business?
Small businesses,
What's
there's,
the-
it, FICO, I believe, if I remember right. I've been out of lending for a couple of years.
50.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So, but they were always based off of FICO when I was doing it. So you're gonna have a little different score. You're gonna have TransUnion, Equifax, Experian on the personal side, FICO on the business. Yep. How much money can you invest? We talked about that. How's your credit? We talked about that. But there are lending options out there if you're under 650. I don't want to scare everybody. Some people will ask, well, what do I do? Well, it really depends how much money you need. If you're looking at $50,000 or less, there are lenders out there that will do it. You're not going to get it through traditional banking, but maybe through local community lenders, state-run programs.
Loan chart.
You could a loan chart. I wouldn't recommend
Is that
it.
like maybe like, it's like credit union or something like that?
There's actually in this area, we have what's called the Rising Tide Fund. They're a local community lender in Bethlehem. There's also a Community First Fund. They're a small lender also, but they're not held to by banking rules. So they can work around credit scores. I've seen Rising Tide. I've seen them do a 550 credit score for me.
Now, that's higher interest, obviously.
1%, 1% higher, 1.5% higher than an SBA loan. SBA loans are going to be typically a little higher than a commercial loan or a regular loan. Those community lenders, they're right in that ballpark.
Are they doing the unsecured or collateral?
All of them are going to have some sort of collateral. Now-
So even with the lower score, which collateral is tough, but it's below 650, even with collateral.
It could be, yes. It depends on the business. It depends on the industry. Like I said, they're going to look at the risk. What's the risk of this industry? If they don't have collateral and it's a very high risk loan, yeah, you probably aren't going to go too far. But I've seen them again. They don't, the community lenders, they're not going to need a lot of collateral. SBA, if you have collateral, great. It'll make the deal easier. But I've seen them go without a lot of collateral on those also, because you're taking away the bank's risk. SBA covers half of that loan value. So the banks are already happy. It's like, I'm giving you 100,000. I'm only on the hook for 50.
So they're insuring. It's like a.
SBA guarantees, yep, so like the way this works, SBA will get a loan, or the bank will get a loan. Someone comes in and they're gonna say, love the loan, but I need to go SBA because you've been in a business less than 3 years. I don't have 3 years worth of tax returns to get a history on your company. They'll take the loan, they'll submit it as an SBA loan. Their underwriters will approve it or decline it. Let's say the bank approves it. From there, it goes off to SBA. SBA will then look at that loan application and either approve it or decline it. If they approve it, it's called concurrence. And then they will say, yes, we like this deal. We have enough collateral. We have the paperwork we need. They'll sign off on it, send it back to the bank. Now the bank can give you that loan and they're only on the hook for half of it.
Are they able to do this because they've assessed the individual that's in the SBA, sort of like they do a whole background on you before?
Everything on you, on your business plan,
Right.
on your
So they're
projections.
deep enough to
the
be sure
industry,
it's
yep.
worthy or-
They'll even look at your industry, your projections, and
Right.
see if they're in line with what the market history is for that company or those industries.
It's like when you buy a house, you want to do it as a rental, and they'll look at the market for when you're going to rent the house, is it viable to make such amount of rent that you'll be able to pay your mortgage?
Yeah, and also on that, they're gonna use projections on that also, where
Right.
they're gonna say, okay, it's a 4-unit house. We're gonna base that you can afford to pay the loan off of 50% occupancy. So they're gonna reduce, they're not gonna say, okay, you have a 4-unit apartment. We're not gonna base it off of 4 units. We're gonna base it off of 2. This history shows you have a lot of turnover on these houses.
Do they have an insurance like a PMI on a mortgage?
E-
Like FHA has a different.
No, not necessarily, because they have different pros. The SBA has what they call 7A and 504. 504 lends up to 90%.
Right.
Yeah, so
And FHA
there's no
would be-
PMI on the business side,
Right.
but depending on the loan, they might come back to you. Banks are limited to whatever they want. They could come in, if they like the deal, they might say 70% loan to value. Perfect. Or you might have a lender that comes in doing SBA, but we'll do 90% loan to value
Because they're backed up.
because they have insurance, right? They have their
But that's
protection,
the
and that's where it comes down to,
Protections built in.
think of them as risk-based insurance companies. That's how the banks look at it. Yep. And last one, can you survive until your sales grow? That comes into your projections. Understanding opening your doors is one thing. Getting to break even is another thing. You want to make sure you have enough money to get you through that. If you don't have enough to get you until your sales grow, there's no point in opening your doors. It's going to be a short-term loss and you're going to lose all that money that you put into the company. You got to plan ahead for these. Moving on from the plan to execution. I'm going to come back over.
Oh, no, I think we actually, the audio is pretty good. I'm just kind of
Oh.
tracking you with the camera.
All right, perfect. If for some reason you guys can't hear me, just let me know. So what are your funding options? We talked a lot about this already. So you could have traditional bank lending. That is typically going to be for businesses that have been in business 3 years or longer. They can have 3 years of financial history on your company. They can do a cash flow analysis and understand where your company is heading. Are you trending up, down? Can you afford the loan payment? SBA loans. That's going to be for companies that don't have 3 years worth of tax returns because they don't have enough history, or for startup companies that have no history. And that's where the business plan and the projections come in. So you have to understand what your possibilities are, put real thought into the business plan. Don't just slap it together. I've seen people use AI, and honestly, AI can be a good tool for a business plan. I will say that we actually just ran a program on that at Lehigh, and it works well because you can add to it. So ChatGPT, for example, we were saying, okay, I want to open a doggy daycare, and boom, business plan shows up. Now it's okay, add in that we're going to be in Wing Gap, Pennsylvania. Boom, pulls up all the demographics for that area. Add in all my competition within a 30-mile radius. And you just keep adding information and it keeps adding into your business plan. As long as you're giving it the right questions, you can write a very accurate business plan with one of those.
What you were talking about is subject to the previous discussion.
Whether it's written by you or not,
Right.
it is technically because you're feeding it all the information.
You're giving us the impetus.
The ChatGPT is writing it for you, but you're feeding it all the information. So
And when
I haven't had any issues with anybody.
But I think
doing
that's
that. Yeah,
different regarding patenting than just.
right. Yeah, for a business plan, the banks, they're gonna look
it's
at
just
it.
public knowledge that's
Yeah.
collected for you by the Trudeau.
Right. Yep,
I
absolutely.
Does
Wow.
ChatGPT, when it
Oh.
makes these
Information.
documents, does it wrap a footnote where, and in other words, if you go into a ChatGPT tool, you wanted to footnote it, like to avoid this other problem, does the ChatGPT tool have a sidebar of information on where it got from?
You could ask it to do that, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
You'd have to ask it to do it, yeah,
Where'd you get this stuff?
that's the key. It will only do what you ask it to. So if you want that in there, footnote any pieces that
Right, just
were,
let it cover you.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yep.
I always tell my Siri thank you for everything because I'm like, just in case one day.
Yeah.
Like, oh, thank you for that information. Good.
And the other good thing, the other thing to remember with ChatGPT or any of your AI programs, there's free programs and then there's paid subscriptions. Typically, paid subscriptions, your information is confidential and will not get uploaded to the world. If you're using free service, that is memorizing everything that you've put in there, and they're going to use that information for anyone else. So if you're looking at trying to create a path, you don't ever want to be on AI where it's not a paid subscription because someone else could steal that information. They see it and that now it's out there for the world. So something to think about. Community loan funds, we talked briefly about that. That's going to be your small community lenders. They're not going to be able to do as much money. However, they're a lot more flexible with their credit scores. They typically love doing startup companies. I've had a lot of success with them over in the Bethlehem area, and they especially love doing money to like low to moderate income areas. So if you're trying to rebuild like downtown Bethlehem, they love projects like that because they want to revitalize the markets. Crowdfunding, that's the way to describe it. You're going out there, give me money, going on the internet, trying to get people to back you. Not as popular as it used to be, but it's still out there. Family and friends, it's good. You can get money from family and friends, but be careful with it. Money money and family do not normally mix well together. And I speak from experience on that with a customer I'm with right now. So be careful with that one. Self-funding, same thing. You're taking on all the risk. You don't want to cut yourself short. If you have a business plan and it's gonna cost you 25,000 to get in, okay. Maybe you have 25,000 you could afford to lose. That's how you have to approach it. Well, you're gonna self-fund. You have to be willing to accept, I might lose all this money. There is a possibility. So it's just like going into the stock market.
It's gambling.
Don't guarantee on anything because there's no guarantees. Who knows? You might open your doors, and I saw this happen, unfortunately. And 2 weeks later, COVID hits.
Mhm.
What happened to all those startups that opened right before COVID hit? They're not here anymore. They planned 6 months. They might even have had 6 months worth of working capital set aside, think, okay, if something happens, maybe I don't get a permit, I'll still have 6 months cash. They didn't have 2 years worth of cash.
Mm.
All that money they put in,
Despite
gone.
Despite the laws becoming more liberal as COVID went, it was still rough.
Yeah, but that first year, it was brutal. I mean, some companies could adapt around it, doing delivery service for food, pickup service. The ones that could adapt, they made it through. The ones that didn't adapt, they were done. I mean, no short way to describe it other than they're done. So,
Credit unions ever getting involved in this? Or
Yeah.
are they more concerned?
SBA, absolutely. I have a couple in this area that are now doing SBA lending.
So that, and if you've already joined in, one of this is a plus, right? I'm in a couple of them.
Yeah, People's First, First Commonwealth, Members First, they're all starting to get into that. Fidelity Bank just started getting into SBA lending. Personally, if you're gonna do SBA lending, I like finding out, are they a preferred lender? That is a big thing for me, and that's just from my experience. Preferred lender is a bank that doesn't need to bring in a third party. So, example, M&T Bank, TD Bank, Fulton Bank, Univest, they're preferred lenders. What that means is they have in-house SBA reps that they hire to do just SBA lending. So they're gonna go through, they're gonna say, here's a startup company, we wanna give them funding. Okay. They're gonna look through it, they know what SBA is looking, and they'll say, yes, we like this deal. They'll send it off to the bank or to the SBA. SBA looks at it, they go, they have an SBA rep in-house, they know what they're doing. They'll take a quick glance through it. 9 chances out of 10, if the bank approves it, they're gonna sign off on it because they know that person already knows the SBA rules. Some banks don't have that. Some banks hire a third party to come in. So they'll say, we do SBA loans, but they use a third party. So they take your application, they give it to a third party. That third party then looks at it and says, yeah, this is a good deal. They throw it off to the SBA. So now the SBA looks at it, maybe they approve it, maybe they don't. Comes back to that person, back to the bank. So now you have 3 different groups working on getting that same loan done. It's gonna slow down the process. And also, the more hands that touch something, we all know this, the more chance there is for risk and loss of something getting misplaced. This just happened. Someone did paperwork, sent it in, it went through. By the time it got back to the bank did the loan, closed the loan. There were documents missing. The person that did the loan, that signed for the loan, won't come back and sign those documents.
If you've ever worked with a credit union, I have a house, car, second mortgage. or
Good interest rates.
And you get to know them over the years, it's like a family.
Mhm.
So when you start working with them, I just got my Medicare set up through Citadel.
Mhm.
And I had all the other things, and they called me and they gave this service for free. So it's that kind of thing where you've got this family, community-minded, neighbor.
And usually
From,
they're gonna have someone in-house that can normally do that stuff.
and if they, they'll do this stuff.
I can tell you firsthand, I know most of the credit unions that are doing SBA, they're hiring SBA representatives to work inside them as they approach me.
Okay.
So, I just don't wanna go back into banking. But, yeah, they're actually looking and bringing people in that have SBA lending experience, so it's gonna make that process a lot smoother. So if you can find if you're with credit unions and you have the ability to do for them, they're great. I mean, but Fulton Bank, Univest, TD, TD Bank, M&T Bank, the number one and number two SBA lenders in the state. So they're great. I worked for TD, or I worked for M&T, I worked for PNC, I worked for Wachovia and First Union. PNC, great bank on the personal side. SBA lending, they can do it,
Damn,
but
that's my bad.
they're not. I haven't had much success sending business there to do SBA lending. That's my personal experience. TD Bank, M&T, Univest, they're good. Fulton Bank, very good. Nothing. So there's a lot in this area that I like, but the credit unions, they're becoming a real good player in this.
Now, in terms of interest rates, most of the banks are kind of being a little more unilateral nowadays in terms
Pretty
of.
much. Yeah,
I
they
know
all,
back in the day, oh, you wanna go to a credit union, they give you the best rates, but I think it's.
they do on the personal side. SBA, they're all pretty much right in line because the government requires them to have a certain amount of money that they're collecting on interest because they're taking the risk. They're pretty much assigning the interest rates.
Daryl, I just want to give you a 15-minute heads up.
Oh, all right.
Yep. This Zoom is not set to just automatically shut off, right?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I didn't set it up.
Okay.
But I don't think so. No.
Okay.
So local consideration. So you can have a home-based business, and here's what you should be able to consider. Renting space, what you should consider. Purchasing a building, what you should consider. What is the first thing you see on all three of those? Zoning, 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 zoning. I cannot say that enough. I served on a zoning board for 12 years as a volunteer in the borough of Emmaus. That is the number one thing. If you don't get that right, you can get your door shut and you are done. You will not reopen until you go before a board hearing, get your variance, your license, whatever you need. Anytime, even home-based business. People say, I'm just gonna have a home-based business. I'm doing a small catering company. Okay, you still need to check with zoning. You need to make sure that that's a permitted use to do out of your house. Because I had one prime example in Emmaus. He wanted to do a taxidermy shop out of his house. It's like, no, that we can't let you do that. We do that, the neighbors will hang us. They were going ballistic with the idea of a taxidermist opening up right in the middle of a neighborhood. So you always have to check with zoning. It is crucial. They are the one entity, they can come in and shut you down like that. They literally can say a cease and assist letter to your house. You do anything, you're done. You're shut down. You do anything, you try and make business out of your house, you're breaking the law, they can send the police. So always check with zoning. That is the first thing I tell everybody. I'll give you a quick story on that before moving on. I had a client that didn't listen to me. She was looking at buying a little convenience store. She already owned 6 of them. She wanted to buy another one. I said, did you check with zoning? She goes, no. I go, well, if we're going to do the lending, we need to do an environmental study on the property. We need to check with zoning, make sure that everything is good. She didn't want to wait. She didn't want to lose the property. So she went and bought $1 million. What she didn't realize was there used to be underground gas tanks in that property. It used to be a gas station convenience store. Now, the state comes in, they're doing inspections. She's like, what inspections? Oh, the gas tanks you have under the ground. They start digging up because there's no environmental study that was done by the bank or a lender or EPA, anybody. They find these tanks, they find out they were leaking. Now they're digging across her property, carrying out a highway, tracking this because it ran over and it ran down towards one of the reservoirs that feed Philadelphia. Luckily, it didn't hit the reservoir. She would have been done. But till all was said and done, all the excavating, getting the tanks pulled, $1 million later, she got her property after on top of what she paid for it. Because she didn't do her homework on the property. Always do your homework on property, especially if it's commercial.
Zoning prospecting, that's at our cost.
Yes, but zoning is very easy. The worst case scenario is if it's not allowed and you want to contest it, you can file for what's called variance, and then you go before the board and they'll make a final decision. But if you go in and you say, I want to do this at my house, or I'm looking to buy a building, I want to do the business there, or I'm looking to rent this space and I want to do it there. All of them, you should be checking with zoning. And they'll tell you, yeah, you can do it there, or they'll say, no, you can't do it there. Or they'll say, you can do it there if you get a variance. That's where the variance, if you need a variance, you go in, you have to plead your case to the board, and then they'll make a decision. They will not make a decision based off of money though. So don't say, I need this because the rent is lower. They don't care about money. They just want to know, does it fit the criteria of what we want for this neighborhood? You are looking to go into a residential commercial? Okay, yeah, you could probably get away with something. If it's strictly residential and you want to put a business in there, it's a home-based business, how's it going to affect the neighborhood? What are the traffic patterns going to look like? Are you getting deliveries every day? So those are the things that you're going to have to be ready to answer to them, and they're going to make a decision off of those. Are you going to impact the neighborhood? So, but always check with zoning. Regardless whether you're buying, renting, or a home-based business, always check with zoning where you live.
And just because in a residential area, just because there was something, I have friends that ran into this with a farm, small farm.
Yep.
So that it was a small farm and they bought it with the idea that they were gonna have, they were gonna have bees, they were gonna have, oh my gosh, they have goats, they've got some horses, they've got, and she wants to put her dog grooming business on that because she had it in town.
Yep.
Wanted to move it, but they had her and her partner, the two of them, he had his interests, she had hers. And even though it was a farm previously, a small farm, the neighbors fought them tooth and nail.
Oh, yeah.
They spent thousands of dollars and the time drug out terribly. So
Yeah.
even still, just because the property was used in that way previously, doesn't necessarily mean.
A lot of times they will tell you, if you look to get a property, there was a pre-existing company that did the same thing. Once that company leaves, it doesn't mean you can move in.
Nope.
There is a lot of rules that will say, you have to do something less offensive than the previous industry that was in that building before you. And I've seen cases of that in Emmaus personally, so always check with zoning.
So I apologize, in the previous slide,
Yeah.
I never heard that term incubator space.
Okay, so like public space, a lot of times shared space. So you'll see buildings where they say, we have 1,000 square foot, we have little cubicles everywhere. You can rent a cubicle from us rather than trying to find a building. So if you're an accountant where you just need a desk to work, great little spaces. Yep.
Okay.
So registration requirements. So for the state, you're gonna need to register your business. You're gonna have to go to federal for your EIN number, your tax ID number. You're gonna need to go to the state, register with the Department of Labor or with the Department of Revenue, set up your sales tax. Local business license. Always remember, you need to go to the city you live in or where you're gonna be operating your business. You're gonna wanna get a business license, find out if you need a municipality for a license. Also find out about zoning while you're there. Do it all in one stop. And then if you are looking to register your business name, PA One Stop Shop. That is where you would form your entity name, whether it's an LLC, a sole proprietor, a fictitious name. All those can be done right at that website. From there, you can also click on the link register right here. For those of you that can see what I'm pointing at. But when you go to that website, you click on that register and it'll give you the opportunity to create a checklist. You type in your login information, you create a profile if you don't have one, but you can click on create a checklist and it'll put everything step by step, the basics of what you should be expecting to do to start a business. The paperwork you're gonna need, how you file. 5 minutes yet?
Oh,
How much-
you have 8 minutes. It's just as long as it doesn't cut off automatically.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. I think we're almost done.
Yep.
Now, that same site will tell you if the business name is already occupied or something like that?
Yes. So, and that's the other thing. Fictitious names, so a lot of people like fictitious names if they're buying franchises, so it might be Wentz Fast Foods, doing business as McDonald's. So I buy into a McDonald's franchise. I have my name, which is the LLC, doing business as McDonald's. Fictitious names, everyone can have the same fictitious
They
name,
own you.
doesn't matter.
Oh.
I can have a McDonald's, you can have a McDonald's, you can have, everyone can have a McDonald's. However, no one else can have Wentz LLC in this state. So you have to find a name that's available and then you get that name. If And once you have that name, no one else can take it under an LLC or under an S corp or a C corp. But the fictitious name doing business as, anyone can use that name. So, little thing to remember because,
That friendly one.
yes, yeah, that's just basically, that's the name you want the public to see. It's the best way I can describe
Easy
it.
to remember kind of.
Yep, and some people get it all with the LLC. They might say, Wentz Automotive. And I know there's a couple of those up in the Heighton area, but we'll just say Wentz Automotive. So Wentz Automotive LLC. No one else can take Wentz Automotive LLC, but someone could do Wentz Automotive under a fictitious name. You just want to make sure that no one has your legal entity name if it's an LLC or if you're doing an S corp. But that would be the easiest place to check it. While you're in there at the one-stop shop, you can actually look up to see. You have a name you like, type it in, see if anything comes up. If nothing comes up, good. Then you buy the name. Buying LLC name, buying it is $125. Fictitious name, unless it's changed, $25. But if you're doing a fictitious name, it has to be underneath something, either under you personally
That's
or
why I'm
underneath
career.
another company.
Business.
There we go.
Make sure you're executing your plans. So you need a marketing plan and a sales plan. So what should you have for your marketing plan? Well, maybe it's a website, professional email tied to your website. I hate when I touch this. A business phone number, your social media, your marketing and ad campaign. Those are the types of things that you should have in your marketing. Your sales plan is really going to be for you, your goals and accountability and what your sales strategy is going to be. But those should be in your business plan also. These are just little ways, things to think about on your end. If you're trying to see how's my business working, how's it operating, you might want to take a look at these items, see if it's still working for you, but this should also be in your business. So resources that you can use. So naming your business, so the business guide, registering your business. Those are the items you can find right on the PA one-stop shop. Hiring your employees. If you're going to have employees, you're also going to have to remember you're going to have to contact the PA Department of Labor. They're going to want to know how many employees you are. You might need signage to put inside your building. We've all probably seen those in our break rooms when we were young.
The occupancy.
Everything, occupancy, minimum hourly rates, all that stuff that you're going to have to hang in your operations if you have employees that are hourly. What the state taxes are, what your local earned income taxes are. I personally would never want to do a lot of that stuff. The state taxes to local earned income. If you're going to have employees, do yourself a favor, get an accountant, get a payroll service, get somebody to handle that, take on that headache for you. If you screw it up, it's all on you to fix it. If they screw it up, it's all on them to fix it. And it's really not that much to have. If you have a small company, it's not a big expense to have somebody do your payroll for you. Maybe $125 a month, but to take that risk and headache away from you, well worth it in my opinion. Use the pre-venture checklist. So permit and zoning. I'm gonna do it on purpose though.
Oh, no.
Oh,
There's a pen in front of you. It doesn't normally work with your finger.
okay.
The pen right there. Yeah, there you go.
Zoning. Zoning. Your business structure. Sure you have the right entity form, that all your paperwork is done. It's filed and with all the appropriate forms. Register the fictitious name if needed. You don't need it, but a lot of people like doing that. Maybe they don't want to have their LLC name as their company name because maybe they don't like the LLC name, but it's all that was available at that time. You could just always go with a generic LLC and then form a fictitious name for the public to see. The nice thing about that, you go to the bank then, take your LLC and your fictitious name paperwork with you. Both names will be on your account with the business. So a person could write a check to Wentz LLC or to Wentz Automotive. Either one, because both of those are the same company. They're one and the same. Register your fictitious name, understand tax implications. Have an account. That's the best I can tell you there. I know just enough to be dangerous, but I don't like giving any legal advice when it comes to accounting, because everything changes year to year in the state. They know better than me what's going on in tax.
With the fictitious name usage, is Wentz liable for anything that I do?
If it's under the entity, yep, so if you have Wentz LLC doing business as Wentz Automotive, they're the same company.
Okay.
Yep. Obtain all permits, licenses. Open a business banking account. So you're definitely gonna need to open a business banking account. Things to remember there, you're gonna need to have your paperwork from the state showing the business name. You're gonna have to have your tax ID number if you needed it. If it's a sole proprietorship, you can use your social. But all that paperwork has to go with you to the bank. Along with that, your personal information or any signers that are gonna be on the account need to go with you to the bank. So driver's license, prime example, I was just over at Key Bank this morning dropping off paperwork for a private club that I belong to. I need to give them my driver's license. I also had to give them my social security number. I didn't have to give them the card, but I had to give them my social security number. That's one of the new laws the government put in place. So just be prepared. They might ask you for something you don't want to give them. But if they're asking for it, you don't give it to them, it's real simple. They will add you onto the account as a signer. Obtain insurance. Top one, make sure you have yourself protected. Last thing you want to do is have one lawsuit come through and you lose everything. Make sure you have business insurance. And review your lease agreements. So if you're looking to rent somewhere, make sure you look at those lease agreements. Understand the terms of your lease agreement.
Get a lawyer to look at the lease.
If you can, absolutely. I've looked at them for people. I'm not an attorney. Again, I can't give legal advice, but I can tell you, I found some where, thank God, they at least had me look at it. They would have given up all their rights to the property. There were two people leasing the same space and she didn't know it. He had two people, he had that rented out to two different people. And when she went back to him and said, there's two people on this lease agreement. Yeah, you two figure out who's going to be there on what days. Never told her that. It was in the lease agreement. She would have signed it. She would have been locked in and she would have had to figured out what days she could be there. Also, how's your lease agreement work? What are you responsible for? What are they responsible for? If you're doing a lease, you want to make sure that you have the right to renew at the end of that term. So if it's a 5-year lease with the right to renew on you have that choice. Great, because then the banks will be more happy to look at that. If the bank knows you have a 5-year term on that lease, but the landlord has the right to renew, they're only going to give you a 5-year term. They're not going to give you a 10-year term, a 15-year term, because they don't know what's going to happen. That landlord can throw you out in 5 years because they have the right to terminate it, not you. So always make sure that you have the right to renew. There we go. All right, so are we good on time?
It
Done?
is 2:30. Yep,
It's
yep, yep.
2:30. Okay.
Yeah. So I
So,
can stop share
If
here.
anyone has some questions, I mean, I'd be happy to answer questions. I don't know if anyone online has questions.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So if you are online and you have a question, you can go ahead and pop it into the chat. I can see here now, it looks like I can allow you to talk on my end. Otherwise, I could just read the question for you. So we'll hang out here for a few minutes. You got any
Well,
questions?
here while we're waiting. Tomorrow, basically, what's called the next steps. That's where we start really digging into finding out what does your business want to do. That's where you're doing more planning on like finding out what's right for you. So the one I love, it's a test that you can do, a business model canvas, where it's going to say, what do you like? What do you not like? What do people say you're good at? What do people say you're not good at? And you gather all these thoughts and you basically go through and find out, okay, here's the most common theme. Everyone says I'm good at this. I say I'm good at this. Here's what everyone says I don't like. Here's what I know I don't like. Here's what I don't want to do. Take that information, you throw it into a program that's similar to an AI, and it'll tell you every industry that you would be good to work in. So that's a great tool. For someone who says, I want to be a business owner, but I don't know what to do, I'd start with that. And it's just basically at the thought board. Put all your thoughts on there, you answer the questions, and it helps you find out what you're good at.
will you be offering these part 1 and 2 courses periodically throughout the year?
Every month I do them.
Okay, so I'll
Every
be
month I
back to
do
the
it.
part.
Yep.
I'll
Yep,
be
I
back
do
to the
first
part.
and second.
Another-
There we go.
The registration for part of the new.
It's already on. Yep, it's already on the system on our website.
Yeah.
I have to do this registry here. I could do that at home, right?
Yeah,
Okay, because I gotta run, I can't stay in.
you just let them know.
Yeah.
All the digital out to everybody. Yep, right to the email that we have.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming.
An email address from, the SBDC. Say hi.
Yep.
So, email them for-
I know, thank you for coming.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good afternoon. We will be again here tomorrow, same place, same time. If you'd like to come in person, we are here at CareerLink. But thank you all so much again. Thank you for sitting through some of those technical glitches there in the beginning. You were a gracious audience. We very much appreciate that. And I hope you have a great day. See ya.
Any questions online?
Nope. I'm ending it now. And